So, in all of my talks, I noticed that more and more people would like to remove entities or learn how to communicate with them, how to see them, and how to get rid of them or help other people. And with all that being said, I would like to share a few methods on how it's done, but again, I'm on limited time, so hopefully I'll be able to give you a message on time and just like before I have to go and stuff. Anyway, to start with, I think most of you are empathic and have the ability to pick up their thoughts and you have the intuition and stuff like that. If you don't feel like you're there yet, you just might practice with yourself. And it's easy. It's pretty easy to start with, and all you have to do is just focus on your life. Focus the things you've been through, your past, your issues, and things that happens. And notice if there are any patterns, any repetitive things, any triggers, and any issues. If you have anything present, like right now, something happened and you get anxious, you get fearful, you get scared, something happens, and if you have a negative emotion kick in, that's not serving you, that's not making you feel good, you can start focusing on it, noticing, and just basically imagine that all of the negative emotions, all of the negative thoughts is an entity cluster. So basically, you can imagine, if you don't see it, you just like sort of think about a possibility of little beings. They're nano-size, whole cluster, you cannot see with a naked eye, unless we have the ability to see them, which is like, it's pretty easy enough. But there's a whole entity cluster and they're like really small. You cannot see them with like so easily and stuff. And they can be inside of your body. Like, for example, you might go through life and something happens and you're trying to talk. Maybe you have communication issues. And every time you try to talk, your throat starts hurting. It's hard to express the words. You have this like pain in the chest and stuff. And it's like, you want to say a message, but you just feel this sort of pain and ache, and it's really hard to get through. Maybe you're going through life and you notice the truth of something. You know, it's like, yeah, and you have sort of idea or thought. And a specific thought will hit the pain in your head or something and cause the headache. So, that being said, there are times when you're acting in a certain way and your body will start getting a different kind of ache. Maybe you start coughing, maybe different things happen, maybe you have a headache, back pain and stuff. Basically, whenever we try to express ourselves or tell the truthful thing, these entities, they don't like that. They don't like us expressing the true thoughts, being authentic. They don't like us like going up in emotional tone level. And if you can feel better, they don't want that. They don't want you to feel good. So this entity will make sure that it's negative. It's going to talk to you. And us being intuitive and empathic, we can pick up on their thoughts. So most of our negative thinking doesn't really come from here, but comes from them. And how do we know? How do you know if it's me or not me? Well, if you're having a great day, usually people can have a quiet mind. Hopefully, but if people can have a quiet mind, it's you. If you have this non-stop chatter it up, talk it up, what if, and all the negative chatter, it is not you. It is the entity and different clusters in your like world trying to trigger you. And these clusters can have different emotions. This cluster of entities, there can be from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to million to billion, a lot, depending on what kind of person you are, what kind of issues you have and stuff like that. So it cannot be very specific like what kind of number you will have, but only you can determine that. And it's simple. If you are intuitive, if you can pick it up, all you have to do, if you notice a cluster of entities, or let's say you have an issue, you might be angry right now, and here it is, you sort of imagine that angry emotion that you have will be a cluster of entities. All you have to do is ask yourself, how many are there? And the first number that pops up, you know the truth, you have the knowingness, you are the consciousness, all the information is already inside you, and you can tap to it at any time. Your hard stuff is to believe yourself. And if you can believe yourself, then you will know all the answers. And basically, same as like me going out of body and different stuff. I get information, but I have to believe myself and that's trust myself. So you can pick up on entities and you have to trust yourself that it's not you making it up, it's not you imagining it up, but it's you being right on that stuff. So, okay, you might have an issue, you might have like emotion, and that emotion, that like thought will be an entity. So you're going through life and you might have a great day. And all of a sudden oh, what a weird person. Oh, I'm clumsy. I'm not doing so good. I'm really bad at reading. I'm really bad at making videos and talking and public speaking and stuff like that. I'm really bad at it. All the negative talk is not you, but the entity. They don't want you to feel good. And the worse you feel, the more loose they get from you, the more they can feed on you. And they love that stuff. They love you to be like really doing bad in life and stuff. So that being said, like you can like basically scan your life. You're going like in a street, you're doing something, and the negative emotion that you get about yourself, about other people, is not necessarily you as much as the entity. So if you don't know how to spot the entity, notice the negative thoughts. When you think like, oh, I'm bad at this, oh, I'm clumsy, I'm this, I'm that. If you have that inner talking to yourself and it's negative, it is the entity. And all you have to do is like pick up, okay, this is the entity that thinks that I'm clumsy. This is the entity that thinks I'm unhealthy. This is the entity that thinks I'm lazy. But you are like relating, you have the similar agreements. Because these entities come to you because they're on a similar like emotional tone level. Like some day you were like in the street or something and you felt really bad. You were really bummed out and something happened. And a person carrying a bunch of entities walks past by you, and those entities like, hey look, same emotional tone level, he's oppressed, she's oppressed, and they jump from that person to you, and now like it's easy to gather up if we're like doing low in life, but at the same time these entities can like target you and stuff. So there are like lots of ways how it can happen, but your issue or your job is more like, okay, find those negative thoughts. Find these negative thoughts because they are the entities. They're trying to mess with you, to trigger you, to cause you to feel bad and like stay in that like low emotional tone level all day long. If you can control your thoughts, you can control the entities and basically be free of them because they have no power over you. If you give in to the negative thinking and you might like, okay, yeah, I messed up. And now you can focus on the negative thought and stay there all day long. And of course, there's a whole like body chemistry with like cortisol and stuff. And the more you focus on negative, the more it's going to be there, the more it's going to trigger you and stuff like that. But if you can like, okay, I'm going to stop the negative thinking, have a quiet mind for a little while, and try to do something else to trigger the like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, and just like you can shake it off by the chemistry. But at the same time, negative thinking, if you cannot stop thinking, it is the entity trying to like, hey, I'm gonna like, hey buddy, and they're trying to annoy the hell out of you. They're trying to mess with you. So pick up their thoughts. What kind of thought is it? What kind of thinking is it? What kind of like emotional tone is it? So your job is to notice it. And whatever you get, okay, for example, anxiety. I am anxious. I am lazy. I am unwilling to do something. I am so freaking terrible at whatever. And like lazy, for example. Okay, so you're feeling lazy. You feel like it's you feeling lazy. Oh, I'm lazy. I don't want to do this and stuff. And you just get in that emotional tone level. But basically, it's not you. It is the entity cluster. Those lazy fuckers, they're like fat and all like, oh, we're not going to do anything. And they're like all over you. And your job is so, okay, lazy. It's not me. It is the entity cluster. You don't have to see it, you don't have to visualize it. If you can, awesome, like perfect. You're gonna have an easy time working through this. If you can't see it, just have a thought about the entity cluster, like a whole bubble filled with like tons of little buttons, and then those are the entities. And so they can be smaller or bigger depending on how many there are. But your job is to, okay, cluster of lazy entities. I'm feeling lazy. It's not me. It is the entities. So basically, you focus on, okay, lazy cluster. Now your job is to find the leader, and you can like talk to it. So if you're empathic, if you're intuitive, you can pick up their thoughts and their thinking. And you're doing it already by picking up the emotional tone level. So you feel their emotions, you pick up on that. Your job now is to talk to them and like remove them. So, okay, cluster of emotional of the entities that are feeling lazy. Call up your leader. Who's your leader? And basically, you don't have to hear them talk to you. You just have to have a feeling. Oh, it's there. Like, okay, I came up. And basically you get a thought, and that thought is the real thing. So you call for the leader of that cluster of lazy entities, like anxious entities or whatever, but this is the emotional tone that you have, a repetitive thinking, a repetitive thought. It is the entity cluster. So you call them and call for the leader. Once you have the leader, you can have lots of variations now what you're going to do. You can thank them for being them and for helping you, because the entities, they usually think that they're helping you and like, okay, yeah, we're going to help them to feel that emotion. We're going to help them to feel and be in that place. And when you're asking for specific things in life, cool. But when you're asking like, oh, please someone help me, please do this, I need that, and I want this. If we're not specific, we can invite those clusters all the time. And, we have to be careful with that. So you can either thank them, like, okay, thank you for helping me feel lazy, and like, thank you for helping me to relate to this emotional tone and level and stuff. But I don't need you. You've done your job, so you can go. You're free. That's one way. Another way, you are not willing to work with them, you're not willing to be loving and like, oh yeah, I don't appreciate the shit out of you, like, fuck you. And you might be like hateful, like regarding how they make you feel and stuff. It's okay. It's okay to feel that way, it's okay to be that way. So your job is to like get rid of them. And you can use the galactic vacuum to suck them out of your like life. You can use your thoughts like, okay, I don't need anymore, like your job is done, get the hell out. And basically, since you are godlike being, you have the final word. And if you say to them like, hey, it's time to leave, and you can just sort of think about them leaving, imagine them leaving, forcing them to leave, it's best not to have back and forth conversation with like, oh, you this and that, and like, to just cuss them out, to just like, wow, you're like this and that. It's not gonna work. Your job is to close the door and not let them come back. So basically, thank them for what they did, and thank them for all the help if you want to. If you don't, just like, okay, your job is done here, I don't need you, leave, or else. And basically you can threaten them with the galactic vacuum, with like them being transmuted and stuff, and they don't want that, so they're gonna like, oh my god, and they take away. But the thing is, once you take out the leader, the whole cluster falls apart, and the whole issue you had regarding the laziness leaves. And you might feel changes right away, or you might feel it later. But it's like one way, like, there are like lots of ways to deal with entities, and I probably should make another video regarding the second technique. But if you're going through life and you can notice like any kind of repetitive thoughts that you have that are negative, any kind of emotions that are not serving you, you can treat that emotion or thought as the entity cluster. And your job is to address it, call it up, like, okay, the emotion of like laziness, the emotion of anger, the emotional like tone of like being afraid or scared, the repetitive thought like, get the hell out of here, or I suck, I'm a loser, I'm not good enough. All of these thoughts and stuff, if they are repetitive in your life, they are not serving you, address it as the entity cluster. And your job is to call the leader, basically the one that's holding them all together. If you can get rid of the leader, everyone else will follow him, because just like sheep, the main leader works, like, one guy leaves and all of them, oh, let's go. So basically, get rid of the leader, and everyone else, like, imagine you get rid of one cluster, and all the other clusters, they're watching, they're like, who's that? What are you doing? And so they're interested, they're curious, they're listening, they're watching, and you get rid of one cluster, and now those other clusters are aware, like, oh damn, they know about us. They know that we can be removed. And so they get scared, and those clusters that are related in that kind of way, they get scared. It's like, it's a cockroach on a spotlight. You have the sort of like, whatever you have, like, you're gonna slap them and stuff. And these clusters, like, they're afraid. They don't want to be slapped. They don't want to be noticed. They want to work in secret, slowly, and just like mess with you. But once you get aware of it, of how to like remove them, how to get rid of them, they're gonna be so afraid that these clusters will start leaving by themselves. And you can do it on the go. You can basically drive your car and like, oh, it's a terrible day. No, it's the entity cluster that will make you think that. So basically, if you can like be like sitting on a pot, making dinner, or whatever you're doing, watching TV, and you have this negative thought or negative emotion, address it as a cluster and remove it. But you can do it on the go wherever. Just sort of imagine the cluster, okay, here, call up the leader, and you just like, you can do it inside your head. Like, you might have like a lot of people in your car and you're driving, and you're just like, okay, everyone's quiet, and so you're like, in your mind, you go, okay, this negative emotion, like, I'm just like feeling really awkward in the car without everyone like not talking and stuff. So let's address it as the entity cluster. And so like, okay, I call up all the entities that are making me feel awkward, or that are feeling awkward, and basically I want to have the leader. Call up the leader. So you're addressing the cluster, you call up the leader, you tell them it's done, you can thank them, you can remove them, you can imagine galactic vacuum, do whatever you want to remove them out of your space. But basically, you address them, you get rid of them, and all of a sudden, this awkwardness goes away. And now you're feeling like, okay, like it's just like a bunch of people not talking in the car. But try it. Try to see if you can like talk to them. You might hear the entities, you might hear their voices and stuff. You don't have to allow that. You can only think like, you can talk to me by thought. So let me pick up your thought. And you can like take various protections, like, of however you're going to perceive it. When it comes to me, it's like 50-50 thing. I can hear them talk if I want to. Like, it's like a button. Okay, yeah, I want to hear them. No, I don't want to hear them. And usually, like, I don't want to have that sort of schizophrenic thing where I'm in the street and there's a lot of people talking to me. I turn out the button, but there's going to be thoughts. And you're thinking all day long, probably. So if you're thinking all day long, you might as well pick up entity thoughts. And And basically, you can be in the car or whatever, and once you're having the conversation with the entity, you can like, okay, is the leader here? Call up the leader. And like, you might have a thought, yeah, I'm here, or like nothing. So basically, the thought you can pick up will be the entity, and just like have back and forth conversation if you want, but make sure that by the end of the conversation, they leave and they don't bother you. So here's a little technique. There's a whole lot of more ways to deal with the entities, and I'm gonna make more videos, but I have to go. So thank you for watching. Let me know if this method works, and basically, scan your life. Notice if there are any negative thoughts and any repetitive thoughts, maybe like, something that's bothering you and not serving you. Address that thought or emotion as the entity cluster, talk to it, get the leader, remove the leader, and you're done. And the follow-ups, like basically everyone's watching and listening to you and stuff, so they don't want to be noticed and they're going to leave by themselves. And if you can, like, any kind of emotions that you can get, you can do it for yourself, you can do it for other people too. I don't have to go, but you might be in the car and the person talking to you, they might be depressed, they might be annoyed, they might be like, in that like emotional, like really negative place. And as you're listening to them and like, yeah, okay. In your mind, you go, okay, the cluster that's bothering that person, that is negative, annoying, angry and stuff, I'm calling the leader. And you can basically do one by one. You call the leader of all the like annoyed like entities, the cluster, the leader of the cluster that's like all the like angry, and you basically remove them one by one clusters. And the person that's like yelling at you and like really in that like tantrum, like they're like crazy and stuff, and all of a sudden they get like, oh, I'm sorry, I overreacted. And you removed a bunch of entities affecting the person, and now they're free. So if you can do it for yourself, you can help a bunch of other people around you. And they don't even have to know about it, they don't even have to notice, but you will notice the changes right away. So try it, let me know how it works. I have to go. Thank you for watching. See you next time.